Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amen. We greet our listening audience with the greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum. And that was the Al-Fatiha. It's called the opening. That was just recited. So today we're going to continue from yesterday, and we're looking at Surah 41, verse 44. Chapter 41, 44. So we're going to let's see where we're at. We'll go over the verse. I read over the tafsir yesterday, and then we will continue from there. So we read, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. وَلَوْ جَعَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا أَعْجَمِيًّا. And if we made it a foreign Qur'an, لَقَالُوا, they would have said, لَوْلَا فُصِلَتْ آيَاتُهُ. Why isn't it verses explained in clarity, with clarity? Ajamiyun, Ajamiyun, is it foreign? What Arabiyun and Arabic? Is it a foreign language and an Arabic language? Are both foreign words and Arabic words in this book? Why didn't Allah make a foreign Quran and make an Arabic Quran? This can be seen in different ways. Instead of putting Abyssinian words in the Quran, why didn't Allah make an Abyssinian Quran? Why didn't Allah make a Hebrew Quran? Why didn't Allah make an Aramaic Quran? These words, a Persian Quran, a Turkish Quran, an English Quran, these words are words that we find in the Quran itself, in the Arabic. So they're asking this question, those who understood the Arabic language. So why did he just make a Quran for everybody? And even today, the translations. The Quran has been translated in many languages. And each of those translations is not the Quran. The English translation of the Quran is not the Quran. The Quran is proper, is the Quran in its original language, in its original text, which we still have with us today, that we're reading from. So these are the questions that are asked. Qul say, Huwa lilladhina amanu. It is for those who have accepted faith. Hudan wa shifa'un. And guidance, it is guidance and it is a healing. It is a guidance and it is a healing for those who have accepted faith. وَالَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, and those who have not accepted faith. فِي avanihim, in their ears. Waqrun is a heaviness that caused them to be deaf. Wahuwa alayhim amen, and upon them is blindness. The deafness is causing them to be blind. Meaning that because of their deafness, they do not have perceptions, philosophical or intellectual perceptions. It's causing blindness on the brain. Ulaika, those, or they, yunadawna, they are being called. Min makanin ba'idan, from a distant place, The people who have been influenced to read the Qur'an with tajweed, proper pronunciation, without any form of comprehension, do not know what they're reading, it is though they are being called from a far distant place. It's not registered on the brain. It's not registered. It's not creating perceptions. It's not creating thought. It's just sounds, melodic sounds striking the ears. It's the same as if you're being called from such a far distant place that you become blind and you can't even see the one that's calling you. You can't see, hear something. But you cannot see, and you don't know what the sound is. That's what has happened to many of the Muslims today. Yes, and it affects us. It affects us in a way that we need. It does not offer guidance, and it does not offer healing. A healing for our circumstance. In fact, it increases the disease. We know it's a disease to get up and entertain people. Entertain them by reciting Qur'an fluently. You're so fluent, and your audience have no idea, and you have no idea what you're reciting. That adds to the disease that we already have. The social disease we have. It adds to it. Okay, so we're going to pick up today with physical and spiritual diseases. We could say physical, spiritual, and social diseases. But the physical and spiritual diseases have brought about the social disease. Physical food and mental food are healing sources. Dominance can cause savagery in nature. And Islam is the most visible religion. And with this, we have the verse we'll take a look at. It reads, Huwa alladhi arsala. Huwa alladhi arsala rasulahu bil huda wa dini al haqqi. He is that who sent his messenger with guidance and the religion of truth. لِيُظْهِرَهُ, in order that it becomes apparent, visible, ala dini, over religion. Kulli, all of them, over all religions. Or over the religion, all of it. Meaning the religion that has been sent, especially what we call the heavenly religions, is the same. So this, he sent his message to make it clear. وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ, even if the polytheist hate it. Not even though the Christian or the Jew hate it, even if the polytheist hate it, the non-believing people who does not have religion, even if they hate it. And the Qur'an offers guidance and healing. This is our outline that we will have for today. So when we read where it is said that physical diseases can be affected by or made worse by mental factors such as stress and anxiety, or we can even say emotional mental factors, stress, anxiety, and others. Stomach ulcers and high blood pressure can be signs stemming from mental or spiritual influences. We call it hypertension. You can have hypertension stemming from a mental or spiritual influence. Noting this, then we may say, without evidence, that a psychic disorder can influence physical or apparent diseases. Therefore, if we can find a way to repair the psychic disorder, then it may relieve us of many diseases and deformities. There's a lot that we don't know, that we could be blamed, that we have blamed on nature in the past. We have blamed nature for certain diseases and ailments, let's say, that we have. We blame it on nature. Perhaps, just perhaps, we didn't know that smoking of cigarettes or the drinking of alcoholic beverages by the pregnant mother contributed to the deformity of the child. That's obvious now, we could say. But at the time, maybe we didn't know that. And we blame it on nature. The taking of drugs, whether legal or illegal, has also contributed to the deformity of children mentally and physically. Now, there are some people that a child may be born with a deformity of some type, mental or physical deformity, and the parents when you guys putting notes up here, I have to stop and read the notes because you may be addressing me about something. So don't put notes up here. Don't write notes while I'm talking. And it has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. They're carrying on conversation. Call each other later. But you're sending notes, and I'm seeing these notes here. And I have to stop and read them. So please don't do that. You interrupted me. Maybe you're not hearing or something or seeing something, and the note has nothing to do with this. So don't do that. So so many parents, they blame themselves. They're blaming themselves for the deformity of the child, when it may not be the parent. Or if it is the parent does not know. does not know what it did to affect the child. And its parents can become embarrassed or somewhat distant from not the child, but receiving help for the child out of embarrassment. But it could be from something that the foreparents did. You're carrying it through heredity. Or, as many of us say, it could just be something of nature itself. Many today is finding that the wrong method of growing and preparing foods for our meals is a big contribution to health problems. What I'm saying is, if we can get back to our natural physical or our natural state physically, and partake in pure vegetation, fruits and foods of the earth, and it agrees with our physical nature, then our physical makeup, we could then find in it peace and happiness in our body. There would be a kind of paradise here on earth. This is the idea that we may have. If we can get away from food, like this GMO food and other foods that have been modified for us to eat, and we can get back to eating natural foods that's grown in the earth naturally, that particularly that God has created, then we're saying that perhaps we would be more physically fit. That's the idea. Right? Now, at the same time, we can say that if we partake in a mental food that is pure and natural in its language, including its sounds and rhythms, it will be a healing force for our heart and psyche. Think about it. Think about it. If we're saying, let's go over it. If we're saying that if we partake in natural, pure, physical foods, and it would have an effect upon our physical body, then can't we say that if we were to partake in mental foods, language, sounds, and rhythms, that it would have an effect upon our heart and psyche, our mind, which would be revealed in our behavior. So an argument that exists that we know is that music, because music has in it rhythms and sounds, and it also has lyrics. And if we have vulgar lyrics, the same as if we have vulgar food. Just think, if the food we eat was just as vulgar as the music we listen to, what effect would that food have on our physical body? Couldn't the same be that mental food is having on our mental body? But we would think, no, it has nothing to do with it. Perhaps it does. So we're dealing with the Qur'an as a guidance and a healing. A guidance and a healing. Just as we can say this for the individual life, so can it be for the community or social life. What's in your community life? What are the sounds? What's the language and sound and rhythms. Rhythms. What are the things that you do daily? What movements are you making daily that it has become a rhythm in your life? What rhythms do you have in your community life that's affecting the behavior of the social life? Think about it. What are the messages that's coming into your home life from media that's affecting the behavior of your home life? A behavior perhaps you do not desire. Or do you think that you have so much control of your psyche? Do you think you have so much control of your spiritual makeup that you can allow any and everything to come into your environment and it will not influence you? You could always remain above it. No Muslim, Christian, or Jew want to be the victims that are influenced by war that causes us to become savages. Stay with me now. Stay with me on this. Perhaps the extent of victimization of the Jews under the dominance of the Germans has caused them to become savages in their relationship they now have with the Palestinians. The dominance that the people have had over the Jews could have caused the Jews to be taken out of their original human nature, their pure good human nature, and now we've seen them committing savage acts over the Palestinians. And perhaps, it is the victimization of the Palestinians now and others in the Middle East that have been dominated by the influence of others over them that have caused them to react savagely, with savagery, with what has been termed as terrorism. See, it's not enough for us to be influenced just to holler, that's not Islamic. Every time there's an act committed by a Muslim group or a Muslim, we have to go and holler, that's un-Islamic. That's not Islam. Because someone is telling us to be against that. But why don't we look to see and just ask, why are they acting so savage like that? Why are they being so savage? Why are they coming out of such a savage nature? What happened to them? They were not born like that. They were born in the original pure human nature. So until they were influenced, victimized, and they began to pick up the saying, by any means necessary. They're no longer acting by the means that God has afforded them. They're acting by any means necessary. So what happened? Let's ask, what happened to them? What happened to the Jewish people to cause them to act so savage, to be so savage over the Palestinians? Run them out of their homes and dominate them, and now working on Syria. What's causing man to act like this? Just don't holler, it's un-Islamic. Well, we don't identify with that. No, the good, the one who's in his good human nature, don't identify with any of it. it is perhaps, the dominance of Christians over the African Americans that were formerly Muslim. Yes, who still had the taste of the Crusades in their mouth. They are lost. They started the wars against Islam and lost, and still had that bad taste in their mouth for Muslims. So enslaved the Muslims and brought them to the new land. And if you became a Christian, accepted Christianity, and then go out and capture some Muslims and bring them to put them on the ship, we wouldn't put you on the ship. You get to stay. You don't get on the ship. If you can go out and capture some people, then we won't put you on the ship. This is history. This is the history in Africa. And this is how they was quoting the history to me in Africa. They had buried right there in the castle a bishop, a Christian bishop that was the head of this, an African, black African, that was leading them to go get other Africans to capture them and bring them, so it was easy for them to go and capture the Muslims. Victimization, right? So these are Christians. So we Christians like to holler that Islam, the Muslims had slaves. Slavery was throughout the whole world. Victimization. That's what I'm showing you. How people have been victimized by other people. What effect did it have on their psyche? So the dominance of Christians over the African Americans that causes them to act as if their social, mental, or spiritual state is deformed. That it has produced an irresponsible group which is unnatural for a human being. We know that suffering in the world can deform our human form, that we are not capable of upholding our good human life. We must have compassion in our hearts that we are not on the side of the suffering people, no matter where they live, or that we are on the side of the suffering people, no matter where they live on the earth. We have to have compassion for them. Don't be so hard on them in their response to their victimization. Our heart should go out to them because they have been victimized. We must have compassion and understanding for the descendants of sufferers. The descendants of sufferers who have inherited a diseased psyche or heart from their foreparents who have been victimized. So what am I saying? I'm saying that dominance can be a disease and cause a disfiguring of a natural human disposition. Where in the world did the Muslims get this idea of dominance in family life? Where are we picking this up from? That we have to be the alpha male in the home or the alpha female in the home. Now the female wants to be the dominant, want to dominate the family life. The male wants to dominate the family life. Perhaps we are getting this idea of Islam at Islam from a people who were dominated in their life. And they bring it to us, we pick it up. We shouldn't follow them. Yes, I'm saying it. Don't follow them. Learn to read this Quran for yourself. Quit following other people. Quit picking up books that they have written, and just following them, thinking that because it was written in a book by an immigrant, it must be right. And they're bringing these inhuman ideas that they don't even know create diseases. And it increases the disease that we already have. We're already dealing with the disease. So we come to Islam and we pick up what someone else is saying, it increases the disease. And the first method that they want to use is disassociate yourself with Elijah Muhammad. Disassociate yourself with W.D. Muhammad. Disassociate yourself because what they brought was un-Islamic. And then they bring something to you that's un-Islamic. That's strange to human life, called dominance. The male is to dominate in a home. Can be as ignorant as a doorknob, but still he's supposed to be the dominant one. Whoever desires dominance, we pray that Allah will not grant it. Some Muslims feel that Islam is to be the most dominating religion. Yet, they say it is a religion of peace and submission. Oh, Islam is about peace. But at the same time, you're preaching dominance. We know there are some that say that Islam must replace all religions, and anyone who is not a Muslim is a disbeliever in God and is doomed to hell. And some of them even say they should be killed if you're not a Muslim. If they had it their way, they would go throughout the land killing all non-Muslims. As we see, it's easy to influence a group of Muslims to go and do that. Because they've been raised on ignorant teachings, influenced by the one who is dominating them. They're being influenced by the one who's dominating them. That the Muslims must dominate all non-Muslims. This is incorrect. Perhaps this comes from a corrupt reading of the Quran, not from its clear, pure, and eloquent reading. And that's the verse we have here. A corrupt reading. Huwa alladhi arsala rasulahu. He who sent his messenger with guidance. He's sent with guidance. And the religion of truth, true universal reality that applies to all human beings. Liyudhira. Liyudhira. Yudhira does not mean dominance. It doesn't say that it'll be dominant. And that's what we read in some translations. That it would dominate all religions. And people, and because the Muslims have been conditioned not to be able to read Quran, just mimic the sound, the leaders can tell them anything. So you see how the translators, or they'll say it's to be proclaimed over all religions. It doesn't say proclaim. It's to be proclaimed over all religions. No. That's not the idea that is given here. Even if we look at the Quran and reflection upon what came before it. But this is what is being taught and has been translated. That's why we still have to work on learning how to read the Quran ourselves and even work on translating it again. Because you can see, due to the victimization, that the translations are corrupt. Because the person has been corrupt and being victimized. So what does it say? It is saying that the Muslim is not to be hidden. The Muslim is to be yuzhira, is to be visible, clear and visible. You know, even the mosque is not to have stained windows. You're not to stain the windows of the mosque like others stain the windows of their churches or synagogues or whatever, place of worship. You're not to have stained windows. You have to have clear windows. People are to be able to see what's going on inside. It's a sign that they're supposed to see what's going on inside. It's supposed to be clear, not saying that you can't see what's going on inside. This religion is to be clear. And it's to be clear over all religions. It should be clear. Islam should be the religion that's clear, open, and clear. The Muslim is not to be hidden in its religious duties, practices, and responsibilities on this earth. We don't have a secret society. We don't have secret handshakes. We don't have secret language that many of us propagate, a secret language. No. It's not a secret order. You're not to say to someone they can't come into the masjid. You can't come in here. This is for a secret order, a secret group. No, Islam, you have to be open and clear. We have to be visible that everyone can see us. In a true society of religious freedom, without any harassments, the Muslims should be the most visible in their prayers and worship. We live in a society that proclaims the freedom of religion. Then if we have freedom of religion, true freedom of religion in these United States, then the Muslims should be the most visible of all religious people. We should be able to pray wherever we're at, but not to show off. You're not to pray make salat in the middle of the street on the double yellow line and cars are going both ways. You're showing off. And then we're thinking that's a sign of faith. That's a sign of ignorance. A sign that you have been victimized somewhere in your life, and now you're acting out that act of victimization, perhaps. Or maybe your parents ate the wrong kind of food. Or maybe media had sent messages into your home life when you were a child, and we've seen the result of it in you in the middle of the street, making salat, thinking that you were doing a noble act. No, something has happened to you, and something is wrong with you, and you need a healing, and the Quran is your healing. That's the point that I'm making. We're talking about the Quran being guidance and a healing. But if you go and take a place, find a place. Yes, people can see you praying, but you're not praying for them to see you. You're not hiding, but you're not in the walkway. If the religion was open without harassment. Yes, I was once at a festival. I'm at the festival. A lot of people at the festival. Oh, here comes Imam Salim. So he's going to try me. He says, it's time for prayer. Let's pray right here. And right there in the pathway of people at a festival. I say, no, let's not pray here. Oh, that's a prayer room. We pray right here. No. I say, no, let's not pray here. Let's get out of people's way. There's a place right behind the booth. There's the grass over there, right behind the booth. We can go right there. We won't be in nobody's way, and nobody even have to pay attention to us. We won't be seen, but we're not hiding because somebody just looked over there. We're open. All of a sudden, he didn't want to pray. He want to use me to test my faith to make prayer right in the walkway of people at a festival to make a scene. Oh, but he opted out of it. Now to bring this up, let me bring up a message for the Muslim. Today I'm talking to my whole audience at one time, Muslim, Christian, and African. I'm imagining this is my audience. I doubt, maybe not, but maybe Jews or others may listen to the recording. But when we have our affairs now, we have these conferences that we have. And sometimes we have a large conference, like the Mali conference. We have a large Mali conference, and we don't have the space for everyone to make salat at the same time. We would have to rent or have another large space as large as the hall that we're in. Let's say if we have a dinner. So because of the way the prayer is set up in terms of the time period, then throughout the day we can have a room. The room could be a smaller room that we had set aside for salat. One area could be an area that we set aside for salat. That we would have a brother assigned to that area throughout the day that person would lead the salat. Maybe every 15 minutes someone would change and be the one responsible to lead the prayer for the people every 15 minutes during the prayer time. That way, everyone, we don't have the idea of not having the prayer at all. That way, we can have the prayer and we'll have someone to service the prayer. Especially when the women come, there will be a male figure that will be the imam that will lead the women in the prayer. It don't have to be an imam, a clergy or a priest imam. It could be a brother who knows how to lead the prayer. Now you should know how to lead Dhuhr and Asr because they're silent. Maghrib and Isha and Fajr, they're allowed. If you don't know how to lead the prayer, you should learn. Take all year to learn how to lead the prayer and say the prayers. If you don't know. And if you're a male in this religion, take all year to learn. If you want, I can come up on Facebook or on the webinar and show you and work with you until every male in the Muslim community should know how to say the prayers in Arabic and even understand what you're saying in Arabic. It's not that difficult. This religion is a religion for the intellect. So let us start that we don't skip over the prayer times when we're having these events, and that gradually we can have people going and making a prayer and coming back gradually out of the whole group, and someone will be there to lead them in the prayer. I've said this before. It was brought up by one of our scholarly women that this should be done. So we have to obey. So let's not hide. We don't have to hide in the religion. And even as the windows are stained in the buildings, over the buildings of worship, is a sign that our sensitivities are not to be stained. Our behavior is not to be stained. That our behavior, that people can look at us and see us in our behavior, in our expressions, and not know what's going on inside. We should be clear that if we just use body language, our body language will indicate that what's going inside of us is the Qur'an. That's what's operating this program. That's what's operating in the background. The Qur'an is operating in the background, not racism. Racism is a disease. So don't have a disease, a virus, running your program in the background. Don't pick up, because those who dominated us were racist. Don't you become the racist and become your actions are dominated by racism. You're responding with racism. No, I'm not responding to the racist with racism. I'm responding to the racist with humanism, because racism took us out of our human nature. And we need to return to that human nature. So you could say that if you want to say I'm preaching us back into our human nature. Not into our racist nature to get revenge of the racists. No, I'm preaching for reparations, the reparations of our spirituality. So we're not to be hidden in our religious duties, practices, and responsibilities on this earth. They are to be visible that everyone can see them. In a true society of religious freedom without harassment, the Muslims should be the most visible in their prayers and worship. In this society, we can say that it is the Christians that are the most visible when it comes to charity. I've said this before. We all should continue to be more visible in compassion. We find that Christians are compassionate also. So I'm not here just to attack Christianity. We find amongst the Christians, the good Christians, we find compassion amongst them. We find goodness amongst them. We find charity amongst them. And we're not to become the Christian, the good Christian. You are not to become the most visible in war and hatred. We shouldn't see you dominating others. Going to church on Sunday and dropping bombs on Monday. Savage, acting like savages. That's the savage nature in man. Religion came to bring us out of that savage nature. In conclusion of our comments on this verse, we can say that the Qur'an offers us guidance for our confused and empty minds. It also offers us a healing for our hunger pains. We hunger for understanding, for correct knowledge, for peace on earth. We hunger for a way that we all can share this land together. that we can all have a shared freedom space. We hunger for this on earth together. We hunger for it so much as a social creature that this season that we're in is a ritual where we go hungry. Not just to remind us of those who cannot get physical food, but it's to remind us of those that hunger for the mental food, for the psychic food that will repair the damage that has been done. This is the sign. This is the sign of the hunger pains that we are rehearsing. That this whole world is starving for guidance, and it needs healing. This American society needs healing in their psyche. You got people shooting kids in the schools, shooting school kids, hunting down school kids. But if I say, hey, let's go check those video games, maybe, just maybe, because Qur'an is showing us something here, maybe it's the video games coming into their psyche. Don't you know, those of you who watch basketball today, the video game, who understand basketball, this is an example that I can show you. You hear the player saying, and those of you who have been around a while, they'll say basketball today is not played like it was yesterday. They play the game differently. Because the video game was made based upon the basketball players. Now the basketball players have been influenced by the video game. So they play like the video game. Steph Curry, he plays like the video game. Durant, he plays like the video game. He's 6'11", they say, with the arm reach of a guy 7 foot, but he's playing. In the old days, he plays like a guy who was playing at 6 foot. Wilt Chamberlain was 7 foot. Durant is 7 foot. He's like a Wilt Chamberlain. Look at him. He's what has influenced him? If the video game has influenced him. Maybe it has influenced him to be good. But they're influenced by videos. And all they do is stand around and shoot long shots like the video game does. So, I'm just showing you it has influenced them. Then what about the video game where you're shooting guns? You're shooting at each other. And you get a stage is so far, you shoot more. He's going to jump behind the wall. You're shooting. How do we know? How can we say these video games have not influenced the children and they go to school shooting up each other? First response. Terrorism. People have been dominated by terrorism, so you see the terrorist acts. Now the terrorist acts has influenced the Americans, committing terrorist acts on each other. You think you're going to get away from it? You think you can allow drugs in the American environment on poor people who have lost their way? The African American? You could sell them drugs, put it right in the movie. Sell it to the niggers. They ain't nothing but animals anyway. Right in the movie. We don't want drugs. These are the not the good people. They're the crime. Organized, they call it organized crime bosses. Organized crime bosses. Making a statement in the movie, right in front of us. Come right in our house. We don't want drugs in our community. We don't want to deal with drugs. If we do, sell it to the niggers, the animals anyway. And you think that selling drugs in the African American community, you're going to be free from that? It's in your environment, and you're going to be free from that, and it never reach you? You think that you can be dominating a people in slavery, beating them for no reason at all. It's still in your business. It's still in your business practices that the manager had to beat down on the worker. Come to work. You come to work on time, doing the job, and the manager thinks he has the right. He's not managing properly. The overseer, the foreman, whatever you want to call him, he's not doing his job correctly unless he's beating down on you and threatening you. Threatening your job, threatening your livelihood. You're being threatened. Every time you go to work, you're being threatened to do a good job. Threatened to be fired. Threatened to lose your income. Threatened to lose your family. You going to work day in and day out with this stress. Undue stress on you because your boss or whatever you want to call him is threatening you, always threatening you. And you think it has no effect on your psyche. And look at America today. We can't figure it out. African Americans killing each other. You killing each other at a faster rate than the police killing. But we got to call the police because you acting up. As a young man put on Facebook, I got to deal with Pookie and Earl today. I'm the police. I got to go deal with Pookie and Earl. Because they just come from the club. And you calling me on Pookie and Earl. Now I got to tase them. They're immune to being tased. They've been tased so much, they're immune to that. And now I got to square up with them. Eventually, I'm going to have to shoot them. Because you calling me about Pookie and Earl. This whole society, this whole American society needs a healing. This whole social society of America needs a healing. Just go somewhere and step out. Just take a step outside of the forest and look back, and you will see that this whole society is deranged. Even in the midst of its advancement in the material world, in the psychological world, we're the most deranged people on earth. So, what I'm offering here is, let's take a look at the Qur'an. Let's take a look at the Qur'an in its original language, in its most pristine form, and let's see if Allah is correct. Let's see if Allah is telling the truth that this book is a guidance and a healing. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I thank you for listening in this morning, and I pray that you benefit from our presentation today. And if you were offended, I'm sorry that you were offended, but I offer no apology because I prepared for everything I said today. So, if you're offended, man up, suck it up, and hear the message that I'm trying to reach you with. Peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum.